ever seen a strong man break without making a sound? Let me tell you a story. A story about Ethan, a guy who thought he owned the world until the quietest person in his life brought him to his knees. This is not about love. This is about respect, regret, and the moment a man realizes he's losing the one woman who never stopped choosing him. Stay with me, because what happens next? It might just change the way you look at relationships forever. My name is Ava Hartman, 33, a math teacher who lives on black coffee, quiet mornings, and a life so predictable you could graph it like a straight line. Same school, same hallway, same chalk dust on my sleeve, same silent apartment at night. I wasn't unhappy, but I wasn't really living either. People say some storms arrive without thunder. Mine walked into my classroom wearing a gray hoodie and carrying a backpack that looked too small for his broad shoulders. His name was Evan Cole, 22, transfer student, late add to my applied mathematics course. He sat in the front row like he owned it, long dark hair tied at the back, silver ring on his thumb, and eyes that looked like he'd already lived more life than most kids his age. "Morning," he said when I walked in. His voice was calm, low, confident in a way that didn't fit with the rest of the 20-somethings who barely made eye contact. "Good morning," I answered, trying not to overthink the way he was looking at me. Not flirty, not awkward, just present, really present. I started class like always, writing equations on the board, explaining linear systems. But each time I turned around, I caught his eyes on me. Focused, steady, almost studying me the same way he studied to work in front of him. I told myself it meant nothing. Students admire teachers all the time. Students crush on teachers all the time. But something inside me, something quiet and hidden, reacted in a way I didn't like admitting. When class ended, students rushed out like usual, phones in hand, chatter filling the hall, but Evan stayed seated, flipping through his notebook. "Do you have a question?" I asked. He looked up with a small grin. "Yeah, I mean, kind of. Your lesson made sense. But the way you explained matrices, it was different. No teachers ever made math feel like, I don't know, a calm place. No one had ever said that to me, not in 11 years of teaching." He lifted his notebook. "Mind if I ask something real quick?" I hesitated just for a split second, then nodded. He pulled his chair beside my desk. Close. Too close. Close enough that I could smell the faint cedar cologne on his hoodie. Close enough that something inside me tightened, alarmed, and curious all at once. He showed me a problem he already understood. I knew instantly what he was doing. He just wanted an excuse to stay. And I wanted an excuse not to send him away. But I kept my tone professional. "You actually solved this correctly." "Yeah," he said, smiling, "but I wanted to hear it from you." My heart did something stupid, then a tiny skip, like a glitch in a system that had always run perfectly. We talked for 15 minutes. Not about math, not really. About life, about why he transferred, about how he worked nights at a local garage to pay for school. He told me he liked learning from people who actually cared. Then he stood up to leave. "Thanks, Miss Hartman, seriously," he said, slinging his bag over his shoulder. "You're different. Different." I thought about that word all the way home. That evening, my apartment felt colder than usual. Same old couch, same quiet TV I barely watched, same leftover pasta I ate out of habit, not hunger. Everything I did felt dull, almost muted, because my mind kept replaying blue eyes, steady voice, and that calm confidence. I told myself, "Ava, you're imagining things. He's 22. You're his teacher. Stop it." But my heartbeat didn't listen. The days passed, and Evan became a constant presence. He asked questions no one else bothered to ask. He stayed after class more often than not. I began to expect the way he leaned over my desk, the way he listened like every word mattered. One rainy Thursday, he walked in soaked from head to toe, hoodie dripping, hair messy, cheeks flushed from the cold. I handed him an extra towel I kept for wiping the board. "You're gonna freeze," I said. He laughed, a soft, warm sound that somehow found its way beneath my guard. "I'll survive. I bike everywhere, kinda used to suffering." "Try not to die of pneumonia before finals," I joked. The way he smiled at me then, it wasn't student to teacher. It wasn't inappropriate either. It was something in between. Something dangerous because it felt too natural. After class, he waited again. "Miss Hartman, can I ask you something? Not about math." My breath hitched. "Depends what it is." He rubbed his thumb over the silver ring nervously, the first time I'd ever seen him nervous. "Do you," he paused, searching my eyes, "ever get tired of living the same day on repeat?" The question hit me harder than I expected. Maybe because I lived that repetition. Maybe because no one had ever looked at me like they genuinely cared about my answer. "Yes," I admitted softly. "Sometimes." He nodded slowly. "Me too." There was a moment, brief but heavy, where he didn't look away. A moment where the air felt too warm, too charged. I stood up quickly, breaking the spell. "You should get going. It's still raining." "Okay," he said, but he didn't move. His voice dropped a little lower. "Ava, you don't have to keep pretending you're made of stone." Hearing my first name from him felt like someone touched a live wire inside me. My heart thumped hard, warning or invitation, I couldn't tell. "Good night, Evan," I said firmly. He gave a small nod, then walked out slowly, like he knew I needed the space and wasn't going to push. The moment the door closed, I exhaled shakily, realizing I'd been holding my breath. That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. Why did it feel like he could see through me? Why did his words stay in my chest long after he left? Why did I feel alive around him in a way I hadn't felt in years? I knew the answer. I just wasn't ready to say it out loud. 3 days later, everything shifted. I stayed late grading assignments. The hallway was empty, the building quiet. When I finally walked out, the sky was already dark. My heel hit a slick patch on the stairs, and my foot slipped. Before I even had time to panic, strong hands grabbed my arms. "I got you, Evan." He'd caught me before I hit the ground, his grip firm, his breath warm against my cheek. "You okay?" he asked, face inches from mine. I nodded, but my pulse was racing. He didn't let go right away. Neither did I pull away. For 3 seconds, maybe 4, we stayed frozen in a moment we both knew we shouldn't be in, but neither wanted to end. Then he slowly helped me stand upright. "Careful," he whispered. Something in the way he said it made my stomach flip. "Thank you," I said, stepping back fast enough to hide the tremor in my voice. He nodded, but his eyes lingered, searching mine, almost asking something without words. And just like that, the line I'd drawn between us felt thinner than ever. That night, I finally admitted the truth I'd been avoiding. Something was happening. Something real. Something I could no longer ignore. And I didn't know whether it would save me or break me. The quiet storm. Morning came slow that day, like the sun itself wasn't sure if it wanted to shine on these two people under the same roof, but living two completely different stories. Ethan woke before dawn as usual. Years of routine had hardwired him like that. He got up, stretched his stiff shoulders, and headed outside to check on the animals, boots crunching on the dry dirt, cold breeze brushing his face. He really tried to pretend everything was normal. But it wasn't, because every step he took reminded him of how Mia had stood there yesterday, calm, gentle, but firm enough to slice through all his pride. And the worst part? He knew she was right. Every single word. He had messed up, and deep down somewhere behind all that manly ego, he knew it. Still, he convinced himself he was fine. "I'm good. I'm chill. Today's gonna be normal." Yeah, no, not even close. The silence that wasn't silent. Back inside, Mia was already awake. She wasn't loud, she wasn't dramatic, she was just quiet. But that quiet wasn't peaceful. It was the kind of quiet that made a man feel like he'd walked into a courtroom without a lawyer. She had her hair tied back, sleeves rolled up, making breakfast with the same soft, delicate movements she always had. But her eyes? Her eyes were colder than the morning breeze outside. And that hurt Ethan more than any shout or curse ever could. "Morning," he muttered. She didn't look up. "Morning." Just one word, smooth, plain, emotionless. Like she was talking to a stranger at a checkout counter. Ethan scratched the back of his head, awkward as hell. He wanted to say something, anything to fix the tension squatting in the room like a fat elephant. But the words got stuck in his throat. He had faced storms, broken bones, crazy nights, but this quiet woman making eggs without even glancing at him? This was the first time he felt genuinely scared. A shift he didn't see coming. After breakfast, Mia began cleaning the house. Not in her usual slow, humming, peaceful way. Nope. This was, I'm reorganizing my whole life, and this place is step one, kinda cleaning. She moved furniture, rolled up carpets, dusted places no human had ever touched before. It was like she was exorcising demons out of the walls. Ethan watched her from the doorway, confused. You, need help? He offered hesitantly. No, I'm fine. That same flat tone, no warmth, no irritation, just nothing. And that nothing hit Ethan right in the chest. He retreated outside like a soldier forced off his own battlefield. The girl who never raised her voice. By midday, Ethan couldn't take it anymore. He marched back inside and found Mia standing near the window, folding clothes with slow, thoughtful movements. The sunlight painted her face in a soft gold, but her expression was unreadable, a calm sea with a storm brewing far beneath. He cleared his throat. We need to talk, he said. Finally, she looked at him, not angry, not sad, just there. Talk, she said simply. He suddenly felt like a kid caught stealing cookies. Look, I know I haven't been great, he fumbled. And maybe I said some stupid stuff, but... Ethan, she interrupted gently, you didn't just say stupid stuff. You believed it. That felt like a punch. He opened his mouth, but had no defense. She set the folded shirt down and leaned on the table, hands clasped lightly. Do you know what the worst part is? She asked quietly. What? I didn't want to fight with you. I never do. I've always tried to keep peace. I never asked for much. I just wanted... She paused, choosing her words carefully. Respect, not gifts. Not fancy things, just basic kindness. Her voice didn't crack, her face didn't crumble. But Ethan felt his entire chest tighten. He had never seen someone be so calm and so heartbreakingly honest at the same time. The words that broke him. You make me feel like I'm just here, she continued. Not a partner, not a friend, just someone who cooks and cleans and stays quiet. That's not true, Ethan said quickly. Then show me. Those 3 words hit harder than any argument. Show me. Not tell me, not promise me, not explain it away. Show me. For the first time in years, Ethan felt small. Not weak small, like a man who suddenly realized how much damage he'd done without even noticing. Mia, he said softly, I'm sorry. She didn't melt, didn't smile, didn't reassure him like she always did. She simply nodded. I hear you, she said, but I need time. That's when Ethan knew this wasn't one of those cute couple misunderstandings that ended with hugs and cheesy music. This was the moment where a woman who never complained finally drew a line. A line he had crossed without realizing. When a strong man feels weak. Ethan stepped outside again, his mind spinning. He had always believed strength meant being tough, being loud, being in control. But now he was learning the bitter truth. You can be the strongest man in the world and still lose to the quiet disappointment of the woman who loves you. He sank into a chair under the old tree and buried his face in his hands. This wasn't about ego anymore. This was about losing something irreplaceable. Mia wasn't leaving the house. She wasn't packing bags. She wasn't shouting. But that calm distance, that was worse. Because a woman doesn't walk away when she's angry. She walks away when she's done trying. And Ethan didn't know how close she was to that edge. The turning point. Later that evening, Mia stepped outside with a basket of laundry. The setting sun washed everything in orange and pink. Ethan stood quietly near the steps, watching her. Her movements were steady, graceful, almost too calm. He swallowed deeply. Mia. She looked at him with those soft eyes that used to warm him instantly, but now felt impossibly far away. I don't want to lose you, he confessed. I'm not good with this emotional stuff. I know that, but I don't want you to feel alone in this house. She didn't speak. He took a breath. I want to fix things, he said, for real this time. A slow breeze moved between them. What exactly do you want to fix? She asked. You, he said, but she shook her head. No, Ethan, you can't fix me. I'm not broken. You need to fix yourself. And for the first time, it hit him. She was right. Not as an insult, as truth. He wasn't the victim here. He was the one who needed to change. The moment before the storm breaks, the sky darkened and distant thunder rumbled almost poetic timing. Mia picked up the basket and walked inside. Ethan remained outside staring at the clouds gathering overhead. The man who finally listened. Night crept over the valley like a slow wave, swallowing the fields, the rooftops, the distant hills. The house felt too quiet, too still. Even the wind outside seemed to walk on its toes. Ethan stood in the doorway, watching the storm clouds thicken. His chest felt heavy like he'd swallowed a stone. He'd spent his whole life believing storms were things you fought outside, with your hands, with your strength, with grit. But tonight's storm, it was inside him. And he finally understood. You can't outrun a storm that lives in your own chest. The conversation he never expected to have. Inside, Mia sat on the sofa, wrapped in a light shawl, staring quietly at a candle flickering on the table. Its tiny flame looked stronger than he felt. He walked in slowly. Mia, he said, voice low, we gotta talk, for real this time. She didn't turn around immediately. She just inhaled deeply, exhaled slowly, and finally looked up at him with soft but tired eyes. I'm listening, she said. And somehow that scared him more than anger ever could. He sat down across from her close, but not too close, giving her the space she had earned. I don't want to be that guy anymore, he started. The guy who thinks he's always right. The guy who talks more than he listens. The guy who pushes without realizing he's pushing. She didn't speak, didn't nod, didn't interrupt. She simply watched him, and that made him choose his words more carefully than ever before. I thought strength meant being loud, being in control, acting tough. He swallowed. But you showed me something I've never seen before. What? She asked softly. That real strength isn't loud, it's silent, it's patient, it's someone standing in front of you, calm as hell, telling you the truth even when they know it'll hurt you. He looked straight at her. You showed me strength, and I disrespected it. Her eyes softened ever so slightly. One tiny crack in the wall she'd built, but she still didn't speak. The vulnerability he never knew he had. The rain began tapping the windows, light at first, then steady. Ethan leaned forward, elbows on his knees, hands clasped. I grew up seeing men yell, break things, act tough, act dominant. I thought that's what being a man meant. Mia blinked slowly. And then I married someone who didn't yell back, who didn't fight dirty, who didn't throw words like knives. You stayed gentle even when you were hurting. For the first time in hours, Mia's eyes flickered with emotion, but she didn't interrupt. And because you were quiet, he continued, voice cracking a little, I thought you were okay. But you weren't. You were just loyal. The last word came out in a whisper. A tear rolled down her cheek, quiet, soft, but powerful enough to shake him inside. I'm sorry, Ethan said. Not the oops, my bad kind of sorry. I mean, I'm sorry for real. Sorry from the bones. Mia wiped her cheek slowly. You hurt me, she said plainly. I know. You made me feel small. His throat locked. I know. You made me feel like I wasn't enough. He closed his eyes, pained. I know, and I hate myself for that. The breaking point. She shifted slightly, voice trembling for the first time. I tried so hard, Ethan, so hard. I waited. I forgave. I stayed patient because I believed in you. I didn't deserve that, he whispered. No, she said, you didn't. The thunder cracked outside. For a moment, he thought this was it. The moment she'd say the words he feared most. I'm done. But she didn't. Not yet. Instead, she said something worse. I stopped recognizing myself. Her voice cracked. I became quiet to keep the peace. I swallowed my hurt because I didn't want to burden you. I lost my voice, and you didn't even notice I was drowning. Ethan felt his heart split open. I notice now, he said hoarsely, and I swear I won't forget it. The turning of the tide. Mia took a shaky breath. What changed? She asked. Why now, Ethan? Why did it take all this for you to see me? He looked at her, really looked at her, and answered the most honest truth he had ever spoken. Because for the first time, I was scared you didn't love me anymore. That stunned her. I've never seen you so calm, he continued, so quiet, so done, and that scared the hell out of me. I realized I was about to lose the best thing I ever had, and I was losing it because of my own stupid pride. Her eyes glistened again. You really thought I didn't love you? She whispered. He nodded slowly. Yeah, and that fear, it broke something inside me. The choice. The storm raged louder outside, lightning flashing against the windows. Mia wiped her face gently. Ethan, love isn't enough, not if we keep repeating the same pain. I know, he said, so let me change. Not for you, though you deserve it. I want to change because I finally see what kind of man I don't want to be anymore. She studied him carefully, deeply. The way a woman studies a door she's not sure she wants to walk through again. And what kind of man do you want to be? She finally asked. He took a breath. A man who listens before he speaks. A man who respects before he demands. A man who chooses peace, not pride. A man who's not afraid to say, I was wrong. A man who deserves you. Her lips trembled. For the first time since morning, she looked at him not with distance, but with hope. You're saying all the right things, she whispered, but words are easy, Ethan. I know, he said. That's why I'm not asking you to trust my words. He pointed to his chest. Trust my actions, give me time, I'll earn it. The decision. Mia stood slowly. Ethan's heart pounded as she took a few small steps toward him. She sat beside him close enough to hear his breathing, far enough to remind him he hadn't earned that closeness yet. She placed her hand gently on the sofa, not his hand, but near it. I'm not leaving, she said softly. But I'm also not pretending everything's fine. I don't want pretend, he answered. I want real. She nodded. Then start by listening more. I will. Start by asking instead of assuming. I will. And start by treating me like your partner, not an afterthought. He swallowed. You are my partner, and I'm gonna prove it to you. Silence settled between them, but this time it wasn't cold. It was warm, healing, a beginning. Not perfect, not magical, but real. A small smile finally touched her lips. Okay, she whispered, let's rebuild. Ethan exhaled a breath he felt he'd been holding for years. The first step. He gently, carefully took her hand. She didn't pull away. That was enough. For tonight, holding her hand was a miracle. Outside, the storm slowly began to ease. Thunder softened. Rain turned into a whisper. And inside, two people who had almost lost each other finally started finding their way back. Not through grand speeches, not through dramatic gestures, but through something much more powerful. Understanding, respect, change, and love, the kind that learns, not just feels. If this story hits you, even a little, then don't just scroll away. Hit like, drop a comment, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. And if you want more emotional cinematic stories like this one, make sure you like and subscribe the channel, because trust me, the next story will shake your heart even deeper.